Good evening. It is Monday, October 5th. It's the meeting of the Rutland Board of Selectmen. Declare this meeting open. It is 6
I do
p.m.
not want a picture of my face.
Okay, if we can just perhaps you folks may come in. All right. So at this point in the meeting that we are open, I will entertain a motion to waive the announcement of open meeting recordings unless someone wants it read
So
aloud.
moved. Second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Skip Clark and a second made by Mr. Lyndon Nichols. Do we have any conversation? Hearing none, I will have a roll call vote. Stillings,
Stillings, aye.
Whitman,
Whiteman, aye.
Clark,
Clark, aye.
Nichols,
Nichols, aye.
Rossetti, aye. Motion carries unanimous. We also are scheduled to have a Board of Public Works meeting at 6 p.m. We're going to take that meeting first. I know some of you are here for public comment, which I appreciate. This should only take a few minutes. I believe we have to, as we are also the Board of Public Works, open the Board of Public Works meeting. Believe I could do that. Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah,
I think we just open. Okay, so the Board of Public Works is now open. It is 6:01 p.m. We have in front of us for Board of Public Works, I think some abatement requests related to sewer. We have Director Buckley here with us. Joe, I know that usually when you present these, you have recommendations. I don't know if you wanted to go through them with us or how would you like to handle it?
I would like to go over the premise behind these first,
Mhm.
and then explain why these are basically generic requests.
Okay.
And then we-
Mitch, I apologize for interrupting, but we can't hear Joe at all.
So you have to move near a mic.
Oh, sorry, Joe. We're moving him towards a mic right now.
I didn't want to go up here until I was recognized, sorry.
No, go ahead, Joe.
I just want to review the history behind these and the current policies that we follow. And after that, I can make some generic recommendations and we can handle these one at a time.
Okay.
Not long after we raised water and sewer rates, we came up with a procedure for addressing abatement requests that exceeded our current policies. Our current policies are like if you fill a swimming pool once a year, we'll abate the sewer charges because in theory it just goes into the pool.
Mhm.
If you had a frozen pipe, a burst pipe, a broken water heater, and you flooded your basement, we could abate the charges for that water because that sewer didn't go down the drain. Those abatements are handled in-house at DPW. We usually request something in writing, review the person's account, and oftentimes we will relinquish and give abatements out. Since the rates had gone up quite a bit a couple of years ago, we had lots of folks who thought that we should have some more. They should have more access to abatements, things that they found were excessive. So what we did was we came up with this procedure. You would put a letter to Public Works, and if we thought it was, if we couldn't manage it through the policy I just described, and it was excessive, we would then refer it to the Board of Public Works. And what you have in front of you are 3 requests. The names and addresses of the folks have been blocked out. And we try and review the individual requests on merit and make a recommendation. And once we get that recommendation, we notify the water and sewer customer in writing. At that point, if the folks still feel strongly enough, we said that they could come before the board and make a personal request. To date, that hasn't happened. So with your permission, Mr. Rossetti, I'd like to go through these one at a time.
Sure, absolutely.
All right. You should have the first one in front of you that makes a reference to someone putting in a lawn. And,
Someone, I'm sorry, putting in.
Yep, it starts off as hi Nancy and Mrs. Macaruso, her first name is
there it is.
Nancy.
Yep, just double printed, so I just making sure we're looking at the right one. All right, perfect.
I can read it. This one's pretty short. As requested in the voicemail I left, I'm writing to see if there is any way my water sewer bill could be adjusted due to the fact a new lawn was put in late June. It required a lot of watering to establish. When I received the attached water sewer bill, I was a little taken aback due to the fact that a lot of the water used was not discharged to the sewer. I would appreciate a review of the bill and possibly an adjustment made for the last quarter. If you have any additional questions, feel free to contact me and you can see the attached bill.
Yep.
Okay. Typically, we have we need one recommendation from the board, either action or no action.
Mhm.
Action meaning you would decide that we should go forward with an abatement. No action would be, we leave it as it stands.
Yep.
So what I would suggest you do is just take a quick look at the bill. It's pretty excessive, but at the same time, we currently don't do abatements for this. We probably suggest to this person, if they're going to continue down that road, they may want to get a second meter.
And that second meter would allow them to track just the water use for
Just the
purposes of
water
this.
use, yes.
Okay. And your current policies, you do not abate this type of,
We do not.
because I can imagine how with all of the new lawns going in town, that would become a little bit cumbersome for.
Correct.
Through the chair, I also assume people that have their above ground pools and they fill them every spring, they're gonna have the same situation because they're gonna be running a substantial amount of water to fill their pools.
But as I mentioned earlier, those requests we honor. Historically, we have honored a pool filling annually.
Yeah. And
So
just,
we would abate those charges.
yep. And just as a procedural matter, I know we've done these before and you've explained the process before. Usually, the DPW, if you're going to fill a pool just for public consumption, before you do that, if you call the DPW correctly, they'll come out and take a measurement. They'll be able to adjust based on the water that's going into the pool. So it's pretty proactive. I know that
We tell
before,
folks to do something very simple. Either take a picture or write down a handwritten reading off the meter itself before you start and when you finish. And usually we can tell by the amount they request that it's pretty, most folks are honest about it.
Yep.
And we'll abate those sewer charges. And it's not like cash per se, it's just a credit on your bill. Did I answer your question, Ms. Nichols?
Yes. Thank you.
Are there any questions about the bill that you've got there? It's a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
and just so you're aware too, the names and addresses are not.
They're
locked
not
out.
here, no.
Okay. I'm a little hesitant. I understand where the individual is coming from, but if we're not currently doing this, I'm a little hesitant to start now. I know that the last time this came up, we had asked you, Director Buckley, to make sure that folks were aware that because of a lot of the new homeowners coming in, that this is something they should plan for. And I think you did that through social media posts, through getting the word out, things like that. So we've addressed this before, just as kind of an FYI. So the board has to make a decision. Are there any questions about the bill? If we have any recommendations from the board,
I'll make a recommendation. We go with the decision of our highway superintendent, water sewer commissioners, department head.
Mr. Clark, just to clarify, is it a motion for no action based on
Right,
current best
that's a
practice?
That's what he recommends. Yes, no action.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Clark and a second by Mr. Nichols. Is there any further conversation? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote for no action. Stillings,
Stillings is aye.
Whitman,
Whitman is aye.
Clark,
All right.
Nichols,
Nichols is aye.
Resity, aye. Motion carries unanimous. All right, Joe, you want to walk us through the second one?
The second one is also a relatively short letter. I can read that as well. On April 8th, I received a letter notifying me that my water usage at my condo was again high. Now, we said that that's been in social media as well. I just want a quick aside. Someone actually goes through all of the water and sewer bills. And if we see a high usage, we usually send someone a letter and say, your usage is really high. It's possible you have a toilet running or something going on in your house. You may want to check into that. This is one of those addresses.
Okay.
And they had, and I'm not going to read the whole letter. They own a condo in town, and I guess they were able to verify they had left an outside faucet on, and it ran for several weeks. And we issued an abatement for some of those charges already. And then when they got, the folks who live there got the next or the sequential bill, they also asked for, they said, oh, well, we think that the faucet may have run in some of the following billing cycle. And I was requesting an abatement for that. And we didn't, not only could we not calculate it, we didn't know if we could really justify it.
So really, you're looking at it looks like the read dates of 1/8 and 3/24.
Bear with me, please. Yes, 1/8 and 3/24.
And what would you were unable to verify it, but you had already issued a prior abatement to an individual based on the same or similar situation.
Correct.
What would you recommend in this instance?
We recommended that we not go forward with an additional abatement. We had already abated a sizable amount of money. You can see it, it's attached.
Okay.
Motion to make no abatement.
You have a motion for no action. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Stillings,
Stillings, aye.
Whitman,
Whitman, I.
Clark,
Aye.
Nichols,
Nichols eye.
City, aye. Motion carries unanimous. And I believe this is the last one, Joe.
Yep, this is the last one. This is similar. It's a new law. And the folks are asking for some relief from the bill. We had similar requests the last time we did this. They seem to be going down.
So, I mean, we just said, I mean, this is not in precedent to abate these, and we just voted on one that was very similar. So, and for the motion by the board, I would think that we would take no action on it.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Clark for no action and a second from Mr. Nichols. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Stillings,
Stillings, aye.
Whitman,
Whitman, I.
Aye.
Nichols,
Nichols eye.
City, aye. Motion carries unanimous. That concludes the business in front of the Board of Public Works. I'll entertain a motion to close the Board of Public Works meeting to re-enter into our Board of Selectmen meeting. Joe, before we adjourn.
I just wanted to thank you folks. I know it's a procedure, but folks have to have a vehicle to be heard.
Understood. And thank you for your recommendations. I know you've been very proactive in trying to let people know the best practice to kind of get those costs down. So we appreciate that. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Clark to adjourn, second made by Mr. Nichols. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call. Stillings,
Stillings, aye.
Whitman,
Whitman, I.
Aye.
and Nichols.
Nichols eye.
City, aye. Motion carries unanimous. So we are back to the regular schedule for the Board of Selectmen. Thank you, Director Buckley. We have next on the list public, I believe, minutes, treasury warrant, and payroll.
Motion approved. Treasury warrant 7 and payroll.
I have a motion to
Second.
approve in a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Stillings,
Stillings, aye.
Whitman,
Whitman, I.
Aye.
Nichols,
Nichols eye.
City, aye. Motion carries unanimous.
Motion.
Oh, sorry. Next, we have the approval of meeting minutes from September 14th, the 16th, the 21st, and the 22nd.
Motion to approve. Minutes mentioned.
Second.
I have a motion to approve. I need a second. Any discussion? I actually, one second.
This is Leah.
What?
The file type that is presented is that the meeting minutes are on, I can't access on, oh, never mind. Now it's showing up. I was gonna say I couldn't access it earlier on my Chromebook, so I've just been looking at them on my computer just the past few minutes. So I have looked at the 14th and 16th, and I'm most of the way through the 21st. So that was just my comment. Sorry.
She means the 22nd. Right?
I'm sorry.
She means the 22nd, right? She's not
I believe so.
Nope, there's the 21st and 22nd. So I am.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I can do this. Interview.
Just one correction. I think we're fine, actually. So I have a motion and a second. Do we have any further conversation?
Is Leah all set?
Leah, are you all set?
Yeah.
I think the only correction I have, Tamika, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Is in the September 16th minutes, in the fourth paragraph, which explained that legally employee must be brought in and discussing information related to their position. I think I elaborated and just indicated that was what town council had advised, so I'd like that included in the minutes, if that's possible.
Yep, I can do that.
Are the members that made the motion okay with that amendment?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion about the minutes? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Stillings,
Stillings, aye.
Whitman,
Whiteman, I.
Clark,
Aye.
Nichols,
Nichols eye.
and the city aye. Motion carries unanimous. Okay, next we have public comment. Are there any members in the public that are here for public comment? Are there any members in the public?
Yes.
Okay, name and address, please.
Okay. My name is Anne Marie Govardin, and I live at 51 Palmagussit Road.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm here tonight as a member of the Wachusett Area Social Justice Alliance, also called WASJA. WASJA recently mailed letters to members of the select board outlining some of our concerns for the community. I know that you have likely not received those yet, but when you do and have the chance to review them, we would very much appreciate the opportunity to discuss them in more detail with the board. I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about the organization and some of our concerns and why we think they're important. WASJA was formed following the death of George Floyd earlier this year, and in the wake of our attempt to plan a Black Lives Matter rally in the region, we were met with quite a bit of resistance by local officials and authorities during the planning of the rally, despite our clarification that the event was not anti-police, but rather anti-police brutality. I personally was shocked. I had just moved to Rutland in April with my husband and my daughter, and at every roadblock we hit in the planning process, it felt as though leadership was not willing to discuss or directly condemn police brutality or to acknowledge in any way the systemic issues at play, which were on clear display across our country and still are. Another significant motivation for the formation of WASJA was the testimony by several WRSD students about their personal experiences with racism in the district and in the school system. Their stories were so moving and inspired so many of us to advocate for change in our respective communities. We're fortunate to have some of these brave young people working with WASJA on our youth board. I understand that you may not that you may believe that these issues are not present in our district or are not problematic simply because they may not directly affect most of the members of this board. Just because residents have not come forward about their own experiences does not mean that they did not happen. The culture in this town is such that people are intimidated and afraid to speak up, and that is truly unfortunate. I am here today because I want the community I raised my family in to be welcoming to all. I want it to feel safe for all. I want it to give equal opportunity to all. I want my children to have access to a quality and comprehensive education which honors the history of all. And most importantly, I want the community I raised my family in to treat all people as though they matter. These are essential factors for a welcoming and thriving community, and I hope that you are willing to work with WASJA in pursuit of this. I want to thank you all so much for your attention tonight and your consideration.
Thank you. Just as a follow-up question, I applaud your effort in becoming engaged. WASJA, the group you referenced, is that a recognized nonprofit through the IRS?
We're in the process of filing with the IRS.
Okay. Just out of, who is the executive director, or who's on the board of executive or directors for the nonprofit?
So I am on the board of directors, but the executive director, her name is Sudhi Tamasabipur. Her name and our contact information is on the letter you should be receiving shortly.
Okay, because we received a copy, and I looked at the nonprofit's page, and it's not currently designated by the IRS, and there wasn't a list of directors or board members. So I'm hoping that when that filing goes through, we get to see who that is, and we look forward to meeting with you folks for sure. So thank you for your input. I appreciate it. Is there any other questions from the board or comments? Okay, Jeff, you have your hand up.
I do.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Anne Marie, thank you for coming out tonight. I did receive your letter sent to my home. It did not have a return address to correspond back to. Should we respond directly to an email, or because you had a bunch of questions in there and requests that I would be happy to address back to you, or maybe put it on the agenda for follow-up in there?
If you could do both, that would be great. Our email, which goes to the entire executive board, is at the top of the letter on the letterhead, and it's simply board@wasja.org. That's WASJA.org.
Okay, thank you.
Jeff, if you're going to respond, I want to be clear that you're responding as an individual and not as the Board of Selectmen. So I think if we're going to respond as a board, we would respond as a board.
As an individual board member, correct.
Okay,
I would do that, yes. And then the only other comment that I had, ma'am, is that just recognizing that this is the Town of Rutland Select Board. So we would only have jurisdiction and oversight to the Rutland Police Department. And is there any specific incidents of police brutality that involve the Rutland Police Department that you would like to bring to our attention?
No, we're having
Okay,
this conversation with other town officials in other towns. Specifically Holden, we've already met with the Board of Selectmen there. There's no specific instances. We're not concerned about anything in particular. Simply that there are larger systemic issues and that local authorities and leadership has failed to even acknowledge that publicly when there's a massive movement across our country.
Well, we have no jurisdiction over, the jurisdiction of George Floyd.
No, I understand
if you have anything
that.
for the jurisdiction of Rutland that needs to be brought to our attention, that's all we
As
can deal
I
with
said,
here.
no, nothing specific to Rutland. This is more of a larger conversation.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. I want to be clear too. I know that there's a lot of divisiveness going on right now, specifically politically. I want to make sure too we're not generalizing. I heard in your comments that you recognize that these issues do not impact most of the members of this board. And I want to be careful that we're not making assumptions about each other's families, each other's lives and our experiences, so we can engage in that respectful conversation. When your organization receives its nonprofit status through the IRS, I think I'm more than happy to do as an organization. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to continue to participate during public comment. And I thank you for coming in to voice those concerns. Is there anyone else?
Can I just make a clarifying point, please, quickly?
Sure, go ahead.
I was very careful with my wording, and I just want to reiterate what I said, simply because they may not directly affect most of the members of this board. So I did not make a blanket statement assuming that it did not.
May not. I guess that, I was a little taken aback by that. I just don't know where that assumption would come from, and why we would target most of the board, not all of the board, but that's fine. Again, thank you for coming in. Are there any other members here for public comment? Jeff, you have your hand up before we continue.
Yes, sir. I don't have the letter in front of me, but if I recall, there was a request in there to be placed on the agenda to discuss the issue, so that we could feel free to speak more policy-wise. Perhaps maybe we could add it to a future agenda and have that discussion as that organization had requested.
Understood.
Instead of doing it through, piecemeal through public comment each time, when we really shouldn't be having a hearing on the matter. But if we put it on the agenda, maybe we could address their individual concerns. There were several paragraphs in there that they wanted us to take action on, which wouldn't be appropriate for public comment, but for an action item, that's all.
Yep, I think we're saying the same thing, so I certainly appreciate that. Is there anyone else in public comment?
This is Leah. Sorry, I just wanted to say I would like to be able to have an honest, open-hearted conversation surrounding these concerns, as well as the impacting locally as well as nationally. I think Rutland is in a very fortunate position that we, for the most part, I think we can speak as a town, have a good relationship with our police department. And I think that we can kind of be a model as to ways to work through this and groundwork, that we can maybe be a model for the rest of at least the Wachusett area. So I would really like to have an honest, good faith conversation and dialogue continuing forward, and not have it be us versus them or anything kind of mentality, but how can we come together and be a positive change?
What changes specifically, Leah, are you recommending?
Well, I think we can just be a good model for responsible policing, as well as responsible community ships. So I think that it's a deep conversation, and we have to come together with good faith.
Okay, duly noted. Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment? Hearing none. Is there?
This is Nick Monaco, the police chief, also acting town administrator right now. We never came out and made a formal declaration condemning police brutality. I'm on the record. I'll make it right now. I condemn police brutality. It's wrong. I think by virtue of my position as a leader and as a law enforcement professional, it's just inherent in my position. That's what we stand for. We stand for equality, peace, and justice. And yes, we do condemn it. And Anne Marie, I want to just mention that we had a back and forth email, and I thought we were very responsive to your rally. And on our end, I thought everything went very well and we worked well together. So I hope that's what you thought as well.
Thank you, Chief. And again, I think that we issued a letter of support prior. I, in my own position, want to reiterate that I feel that our police department has been doing a tremendous job. We have a diverse department. It's been very responsive to the needs and requests of the community. So thank you, Chief, for adding that. Though I think it's inherent in how you conducted yourself in your department to date. So that said, if we have no one else for public comment, we'll move on.
Hello.
I'm sorry.
Hello?
Name and address, please.
Brianna Autry, 32 Orchard Hill Drive.
Yep. Go ahead, Brianna.
Hi. I am also here as part of WASJA, specifically partially part of the board of directors, and also part of the directing board of the youth board section of WASJA. A lot of the points that Anne Marie brought up, specifically the one about education, basically I'm here to push for equity within the schools that we have in Rutland. As a Black woman attending a predominantly white institution for almost 13 years now is frankly traumatizing. The behaviors that I've learned to make myself more palatable to my peers has greatly affected me. It's affected my psyche and it's affected how I act. Not being able to be authentically myself is something that was taught to me by a very young age. And I have never been to a school outside of this town, besides, of course, the high school. But speaking specifically within this town, there needs to be change in how issues concerning race are dealt with within schools, because there is little to absolutely nothing done. And when there is something done, it is not handled in an effective way.
Have you had this conversation with the school board?
We have a meeting coming up. I believe I've talked to people from, I wrote a letter into the school board meeting and they read it and they talked about it. And I've talked to people from the school board.
Okay, great. I think that that's certainly okay. I think that's certainly a conversation that would be appropriate for the school board. As you know, the select board, the functions are somewhat different. I think that's also a conversation I would encourage you to speak to someone at DESE, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and I think they would be receptive to that as well. But I certainly appreciate you coming in and sharing your experiences, and look forward to those discussions with the school board and the district. Okay, is there anyone else for public comment?
This is Leah again, sorry. Is there any way that we can continue this conversation and then write a letter of support on behalf of our students of color to the school board, and just kind of similar to the letter that we sent to the MMA about the police, similar for our students of color in the school district?
I missed the first part of your question. I apologize. Could you please repeat it?
Sorry, this is for the board, I guess, that we, as the board, could write a letter of support for for our students of color in Rutland to the school board, just to show that we stand behind the concerns and the individuals in our community.
Sure. Leah, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. I mean, we don't know the particular issues or concerns. I think we had an issue come before this board a few weeks ago about providing underprivileged children with internet access, and we were told not to get in the business of the school board. The school board exists for this function, and I think we need to respect their autonomy. In terms of supporting an organization, we don't have an organization yet. You know, again, I'd be more than happy to meet with an organization once it receives its official nonprofit designation from the IRS. And if there are particular issues that we can support and stand behind, I'm not going to speak for the rest of the board. I'll just speak on behalf of myself, but I'm more than happy to look at those. And if they're appropriate, we could take some sort of action. But I think we're a little bit, we're not in that place yet. Jeff, go ahead.
I mean, I would be happy to support an agenda item to discuss such a letter as Leah had mentioned in there. I just reiterating again that if it's something that we want to have a bigger conversation, let's put it on the agenda so we can have that talk in there. What I don't like are the public comments that turn into hearings in there without any prior agenda or notice given in there. But I would respectfully like to see both of those issues in there so Leah can discuss which I'd like to see on the letter, and also what the organization is asking us to do instead of doing it in public comment. Thanks.
Again, I think most of the board hasn't seen the letter yet that's come in. And we don't have any specific issues or requests in front of us. So I guess, Leah, again, to that point, I think we're more than happy to have that discussion. We just need the specifics. All right. Anyone else here for public comment before we wrap up? Thank everyone for coming in. Certainly appreciated. All right, next on the agenda, we have petitions, applications, awards, and presentations. We have a poll hearing. And then Becky, I promise I'll get to you if we can get through this real quick. For National Grid, for Campbell Court. Joe, while you're still here, are you okay? We have the thumbs up. Are we okay for the poll request, the placement? We usually check with you first before we.
I met with the representatives from National Grid in the field, and we agreed on the placement of the pole. And I also provided the board with written correspondence probably last week. So you have a recommendation approving the location of actually 2 poles. So you have 2 separate letters. One is a pole for some new houses going in, and the other one is basically a pole to hold the other one up on the other side of the street to make sure it's secure.
Great. Do we have a representative here from National Grid?
I am here.
Oh, perfect. All right. Is there anything that you would like to add?
No.
Perfect. Are there any questions?
I think you guys should hurry up because the Patriots game is on in 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm really glad you have no further.
Yeah, see, I'm trying to keep it quick for you guys.
Okay, appreciate that. Anyone have any questions about the locations of the poles? Anything for Director Buckley?
Is the DPW director concurring with this?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I'm fine with it.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the placement of both poles? We have a motion made by Mr. Clark.
We gotta close the hearing.
I didn't know we had to open a poll.
Yeah, you have to close the hearing first, Mitch.
I didn't know we had to open a poll. All right, so we'll close. Okay, so I open the poll hearing. Poll hearing is open. We will. I'll entertain a motion to close the poll.
Close the poll hearing.
I have a motion made by Mr. Clark and a second made by Mr. Nichols to close the poll hearing. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Stillings.
Stillings, aye.
Whiteman.
Whiteman, aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Nichols.
Nichols, aye.
For City, aye. Motion carries unanimous. Okay, do we have a motion regarding replacement and location of the poles as proposed?
Want to make it?
Motion as for approval as proposed.
All right, we have a motion by Mr.
Second.
Nichols for approval and a second by Mr. Clark. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Stillings.
Stillings, aye.
Whiteman.
Whiteman, aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Nichols.
Nichols, aye.
For City, aye. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, National Grid.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Too. Enjoy the Patriots game. All right.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We have a department head update next on the agenda from our treasurer collector, Becky Tuttle.
The place.
That's the place, the hot seat.
It used to be over there. All right, so I have to make this quick. Patriots play in 20 minutes, I guess. One of the biggest things we're doing in my offices, we foreclosed on quite a number of properties, and we have them slated for auction. November 4th, which is a Wednesday. And we plan on doing the auction. It's going to start at 1 p.m. It's going to be outside under a tent, which Chief Monaco has donated. So we'll have masks and sanitizers and everybody outside as well. I did provide you with a list of the properties that will be auctioned. And I'm basically looking to see if there's any questions about those properties. There will be actually it went live today on the Zikos group, is the company that is doing our auction. And Paul Zikos, they have set up a website that has everything listed and descriptions of the properties and how the auction will go. And we'll put that on our town website and send it out as a news blast. So on your list, there is one piece of property that we pulled from the auction. It's there was 71 acres of land on Overlook Road. We're pulling that. We're not going to auction it because it's a piece of property. It's very wet. There's no frontage, and it's basically on the Princeton line. The suggestion from the auctioneer was to deed that property to the Conservation Commission because there really isn't any value to the town to sell it at auction because nothing. I mean,
You don't think any of the abutters would want to take possession of it?
It's a lot of acreage, and they may want to take it, but I mean, we'd be selling it for a very, very low profit, which could be, the goal is to the town
money,
to
right.
turn a profit.
But I mean, what would be the evaluation of that property long term for tax purposes if it were to be auctioned off? Just ballpark. I mean, would it make us, in terms of tax money, anything, or it would be obviously?
It could be construed like if we're going to sell it for $700 an acre.
Yeah.
Then it's like, well, the town just gave away 71 acres of land, that type of stuff. So his suggestion was to deed it to the Conservation Commission or revisit it at a later date. So not included with this auction at this point in time.
Okay.
So.
And through the chairs. So this probably would go and play with our open space plans too, right? So we want to have so much land of open space. So if we keep it as conservation, then that will count.
Right.
As
there is a parcel.
Yeah.
I think I actually reached out to the Conservation Commission already to see if it was something that they would be interested in, and they're discussing it at their meeting tomorrow. There is a parcel 59BA 51 off Sumac Circle, which the same type of thing happened some time ago before I was in office, where it was deeded. It's actually in the custody of the Conservation Commission. So there's a big piece of land over there. It's very wet, not buildable. So there's not much the town can do with it.
Okay.
So.
Just one other quick question, and I'm sure you've already checked this, but because of the COVID and the delays and everything, these have all met any kind of restrictions on foreclosing and everything due to delays from the COVID?
Yeah, these have already been foreclosed on.
Yeah,
that's
an issue.
Okay, so all those times have passed, there was no.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So there is no, one of the properties on here is 259 Main Street, which is the apartment building that's across the street from the town hall that I have come to the board numerous times. I've been working to address that building and the past due taxes for the last 6 years since I've been here. We did foreclose on it in March. There's no tenants. So the town took ownership of it in March. And that will be, we're marketing it as a commercial property because it is in the town center district. But without a deed restriction, we can't limit it completely to commercial, but that is the goal, to sell it as office space or just in the commercial district of the town.
And the auctioneer you're using has experience in marketing these for the most benefit to the town.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Okay.
Absolutely. If you, I can give you it's the zikosgroup.com, and I'll put tomorrow, the link to the auction data will be up on the website, and it'll go out as a news blast, so that people can look at it. A lot of the properties, again, there's two that are mainly abutters will be interested in, and that type of thing. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 that are 1.4, 1.5 acre lots that are buildable with DCR approval and that type of stuff. So, and the one of the other ones is the Sunny Hill Estates, the Israel properties, what the plan is, in talking with Dave George and our KP Law, getting the decision from them. The subdivision plan is still active, but so we're selling all of these parcels together with the goal that the subdivision plan is still active, but it has to be reworked to meet today's standards for the size of the lots.
Okay.
So that's that. And also I just wanted to say thank you again to the DPW on the 259 Main Street property. There was a cooking oil spill in the back of the building. So there was a DEP issue there. We just recently had that cleaned up at the beginning of or middle of September. And their guys did the digging, and it's all in process to have that completely cleaned up before the auction. So
Great.
Contaminated soil has been properly removed. So thank you very much.
Do we have any questions? Thank you, Becky. I know it's something you've been working really hard towards for quite a while now. And something we've talked about, I think, since I've been on the board. So this feels like a pretty big win for the town. And hopefully we can get some of these offloaded and stop being landlords.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great. Any questions from the board? Comments?
Mitch, this is I have a question. So I thank you, Becky, for clarifying about the cooking oil spill on that Main Street property. That was one of my questions. The other question I have is, I see on the notes for the one property that it says that there's a shack on the lot. Is the town responsible for any of that? Or I know we had talked about it at a previous board meeting, and I can't remember what the decision was. Is the town responsible for anything on any of these properties, or have we met all of our requirements on the properties?
Well, I think now that we own them, if we auction them, we're not responsible. But as, correct me if I'm wrong, as we currently own them, we would be responsible for.
Right. When you look at the website and the description of the properties, all the properties are being sold as is, and it's the due diligence of the bidders to investigate, decide on what they're doing. So that dilapidated shack is still there, but it shows up in the pictures, but it's buried under the trees and that type of stuff. So it is sold or as is. We say that a million times at the auction, but.
Great. Good job. Anybody else? Okay. I think we'll move on to, you have another item, the town audit.
Yep, the FY19 audit was completed. I think we forwarded you the financials and the management letter. There are no new issues. As you can see in the management letter, there were some prior year issues that one of the items was cleaning up old tax title, and because this is FY19, a lot of the foreclosures and that type of stuff were done in FY20. So once you see next year's audit, then the goal is that this item will not be there anymore. So.
Okay.
Was this provided to FinCom?
The
audit?
Did you forward that to?
Not yet. I have a running list of things to give to you.
I think it's come. I know that in prior years, prior to maybe the last couple, we've had Melanson come in and walk us and perhaps FinCom through in case any individual members had questions. Okay. As part of what they offer as a service. It seemed to be a best practice, and then I think we stopped doing it for a little while. Is that maybe something we can reach out to ask them, and then maybe ask FinCom out of respect for those folks, if they review it and have any questions, that we can make Melanson available. I hate paying for a service, and then, I want to be able to maximize that if there's any issues anyone has with any of the what's included.
Okay.
Is that amenable to the board?
Yep.
All right. Well, is that it, Becky, for you?
One other thing I just wanted to make the board aware of, we've had, along with the nationwide issue, we've had a few fraudulent unemployment claims on our account. We've had 4 employees that are still full-time employees that have showed up on my email to go in and verify their employment, and because they filed for unemployment. This is a nationwide issue. The data, they're linking it back to some of the big data breaches, like from Wells Fargo or Target, and then the things that happened a while back. They do have information on there. The DUA does on their website about the claims. I've gotten emails back and forth. Well, on our listserv for the Treasurer Collectors Association, it's all over the place.
Yep.
There's just lots and lots of claims. So of fraudulent claims, all the towns are seeing an uptick, and it's not just our payroll company that we use. It's across the board. So I just wanted to make you aware that I am on top of it, and I go in there every day and just make sure the claims are accurate and contest anything that's not, and report it to Dominic over at the detectives over there, and file claim or fraudulent claim report with the DOA. So just so you're aware that we haven't been scathed over.
Understood. Well, thank you so much for your hard work. Certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Next we have what's my place here? Town administrator update, Chief.
As far as COVID numbers right now, we have currently 4 active cases. One of those will be dropping off tomorrow, so tomorrow will be at 3. Unfortunately, we did have a death last week. It was our first and only death, 78-year-old female. So Rich and the town nurse have been talking with her family. So,
well, I think we should express condolences to the family for sure. That's hard to hear as a community, but the numbers are going down lower than the last update.
Yes.
So just a reminder to everyone to keep calm and do your due diligence.
So, Chief, we do tracing on that just to make sure that where these individuals have been in contact with any town or.
Yes, the Board of Health, I think in conjunction with state officials, does the contact tracing.
Okay.
And they haven't brought anything to our concern. Everything, actually, Rich Stevens, the health agent, he told me that everything except for I think 1 or 2 cases has been contracted outside of town, and then household, how would you call it? Household transmissions from person to person within the family. And I think there was only 1 instance of 20-year-old friends that both lived in town that contracted each other. So he's been keeping a good track.
It was the friends.
Yes.
Can you explain the situation?
Yeah. Yes.
In more detail. Before.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that update. You want to go ahead and make the announcement?
Sure. Happily, we can announce that the Board of Selectmen has offered the town administrator job to Ron San Angelo, and Ron has accepted, and the board and Ron have entered into negotiations and signed a contract. So Ron will be starting with us on the Tuesday after Columbus Day.
Next Tuesday.
And Ron comes with many years of experience, most recently as town manager in Southbridge, previously town administrator in Hanson, Mass. And he held some elected positions. He was a mayor in Connecticut, I forget what town, and also a state rep down there. So,
very impressive resume. And for all those who watched, I received a lot of emails after those interviews. And all of our candidates did an exceptional job. So it was a good process to go through. So thank you to everybody that was involved again. We do have the last item for your update is a discussion of your 30-day notice per kind of the contract we worked out for interim.
Yep, the agreement we had said that we would end upon a 30-day notice, and with Ron coming on board next week, I would be comfortable giving you my 30-day notice tonight.
Okay, so that's your official 30-day notice.
Yes, sir.
I think we should probably have a motion to accept that from the board.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Nick's.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Clark and a motion second from Mr. Nichols. Is there any discussion pertaining to the acceptance? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Stillings.
Aye.
Whitman.
Whiteman, aye, with much appreciation to Nick for stepping up and filling this role for us. Thank you, Nick.
Clark.
Aye.
Nichols.
Nichols, aye.
And Rossetti, aye. Not to spring something on the chief, but I did prepare a letter. I was hoping to get the board support. Chief, if you could pull that up.
Oh, sure.
I don't think we have it in our packets regarding this agenda item. think it's in your Google Drives as well. Tamika had, it's pretty last minute. I didn't want to give the chief too much heads up, so.
While we're looking for it, I'd also like to thank the board for this opportunity. I learned quite a bit, and I know that everything I picked up during this stint was going to help me moving forward as police chief. So thank you for putting your trust in me, and hopefully I won't have to do it again.
You didn't say you wouldn't do it again. You said
I mean, if you need me to, I'll do it again.
Chief, this is Tamika. I just wanted to say it's been a pleasure working with you.
You too, Tamika. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Be happy to make a motion, Mitch, on that draft that you had.
Well, I think I'd like to read it, have it pulled up, and it's not in our packet, but certainly, Jeff, when we get to that point, I certainly appreciate it. And I think Nick's got it right about here.
Let me drag it over to the other screen.
We're all navigating this COVID world together. So,
Ron, if you're listening, I hope you're good with computers.
well, and this is addressed to Ron, or town administrator. So basically, I'll just go ahead and read it.
Can you see it?
I can see it. Okay. Dear Town Administrator, the Town of Rutland Board of Selectmen wishes to recognize the exemplary service to the town provided by Rutland Police Chief Nick Monaco in his temporary role as acting Town Administrator. Nick took the position amid an unprecedented situation and helped guide the town during a period of transition admirably. As acting Town Administrator, Chief Monaco provided steady and calm leadership during a tumultuous time that has seen a global pandemic, civil unrest, and a divisive political landscape. Chief Monaco was actively involved in the search process for a permanent Town Administrator. And further, he was extremely accessible and helpful to members of the public, employees, and elected officials throughout his appointment. Therefore, the Rutland Board of Selectmen, on behalf of a grateful town, wishes to grant upon Chief Nick Monaco a letter of commendation for inclusion in his personnel file in recognition of his service and dedication. Sincerely, and then it would be us, the Rutland Select Board.
Thank you.
Very, very nice job, Nick.
Well, nice job, Nick. Certainly
Nick.
appreciate it. Well, no, but
Oh.
all I did, I'm just a buffoon that wrote it. So we have a motion on the table from Mr.
Second.
Stillings, and we have a second from Mr. Clark. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Stillings,
Stillings, aye.
Whitman,
Whitman, aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Nichols,
Nichols eye.
and City, aye. Thank you, Chief, and we'll put that on Ron's desk for one of his first items to complete next week.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we're going into old business real quick. We just want to update, confirming a date for a special fall town meeting. We had some suggestions the last meeting. I know that we had worked with the town clerk, as well as the fire chief. Town clerk and I have spoken today, and she had reached out to the moderator. They would like to shoot for a Thursday, November 4th. Was it 14th? That's on the phone, Chief?
12.
The 12th, I'm sorry. Which gives clerk's office enough time after the election to kind of unwind a little bit and make sure that everything on that end, which is going to be hectic for them, is complete. So I think that's the starting point. That's what the clerk's office is comfortable with. I think we should maybe, if we approve that, check with fire chief. He can reach out to the schools and make sure that that's appropriate for them and see if we can get a plan in motion. Is that amenable?
Sounds good. And legal confirmed they're also available for the 12th.
Legal also confirmed. Okay. Does anyone have any discussion, any issues? I think what we maybe could do is shoot for that date. And if the school comes back with some concerns, we could push it out a few days or hold it on to Saturday, just as long as it's after that date. I think that we would be in pretty good shape in terms of safety measures and the availability of clerk's office. And I know we're going to be cutting it close probably with free cash certification, but we always are. So November used to sound kind of a safe benchmark, but who knows? But I think that we should be okay in that sense as well.
Just for clarification, the intent is to have this indoors no matter what, or is it indoors pending numbers stay as they
Right away.
flow and then reevaluate if things change suddenly?
I think it's going to be really, really tough to have it outdoors with the possibility of weather. And, you know, we even had some folks at the outdoor meeting in the summer. They left the air conditioning on in the car and they had to get jumped on the way out. I don't want that to happen if there's 3 feet of snow and have to burden Mr. Buckley with running around and trying to get that mess cleared up for town meeting. But I would defer to probably the fire chief on that. And if Seth thinks it's okay, which he indicated at the last meeting, I think we can take enough precautions to make it as safe as we possibly can. All right, and that sense, I'll entertain a motion to set that date if everyone's comfortable with it.
So moved.
Second.
Chief. Oh, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, Chief?
When do you open the warrant?
We would have to open it, I would imagine. That's a good question.
Right now, it's gonna be like 30 days, doesn't it?
We'd have to open it probably prior to our next meeting.
Okay. So would you be able to vote to open it this evening?
It's not on the agenda.
Okay.
What we could do is schedule
There's narwhal.
Karen, go
sorry,
ahead.
we can't turn on the.
How about the state budget? We haven't heard when that's going to be done, and we really can't set a tax rate if we don't know what we're going to get from the state.
Yeah. I know there's other business we have to take care of. I'm hesitant to wait on the state because realistically, I'm not sure when at all that's going to be.
But we can't set a tax rate if we don't know where we're going to be at.
All the other towns are in the same, the entire state's in the same boat as we are. So
Right.
I'm assuming we're level funding.
That's kind of what we've been told.
Right. I don't think we're going to have an answer by then because it's COVID.
Well, I don't think we're going to have an answer probably until the new year at some point, and that puts us way behind on getting everything passed. So if we set the date, we have the possibility of moving it if it needs to be moved. And so I think that I'd feel comfortable setting it if we have to set a 10-minute Zoom meeting to open the warrant as a select board between now and our next meeting to make sure that we're in compliance with everything. I'm more than happy to do that. If we have a quorum of the board, that shouldn't be a problem. But I want to make sure we get something on the books too, so that we give our public safety officials adequate time to work things out in details on their end, knowing full well, Leah, that the date might change there. I'm sorry, I meant Karen. Karen, I apologize. So, are there any more questions from the board?
So we're going to be willing to have a third town meeting if we have to.
Or postpone.
Or we have the possibility of postponing it if we get more clarification.
Okay, but if we don't, if we have this town meeting in November and we don't have if we don't have the state budget, we're willing to have another town meeting when we get the state budget.
I think we're working towards clarification on when things will come out. Again, I think we have business we have to conduct at special town meeting. And we can't indefinitely push it off. So I think now, again, we're merely setting a date. A lot of the other communities are holding their town meetings in November, and everyone else is in the same boat we are. So I think we follow precedent. We set the date. If it needs to be postponed or if there's any clarification, we'll work with the information as we get it.
Right. I mean, I think that we're leaving our options open by at least scheduling it. And then I imagine there's going to have to be some guidance that comes out from the state for all the towns. So at least if we schedule something, at least we have something on the books. And like Mitch said, if we have to postpone it, we'll have to look at that.
I think we're all kind of operating as if
It's normal.
Something will
Happen.
clear up. I mean,
Yes.
it's hard to predict exactly what's going to happen, and I think every town in the Commonwealth is in the same place because the state is, everything's behind. Everything is just not normal. So I think we need to proceed as if we can level fund it. We're gonna have to set our tax rate at some point and somehow get to that point. And I think we will do that.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Wasn't that discussion? Didn't you already do a motion?
I thought it was.
I thought we were in discussion.
Oh, we did. We had a motion and a second. I'm sorry. Oh,
Yep,
wow.
that's correct. It was discussion.
It was so long ago that I forgot the motion was there.
Mitch, before you guys finalize it, did you want to set a time in the motion as well?
A time. 7 p.m.
Do we usually do it earlier?
No, we do. I'm just worried about
I
school.
think you usually do select
6
board
p.m.
30.
Usually do 6 with a special for us at 5.
Yeah, I'm just worried about enough time between the school if they have to clean or something like that. But I think six would be.
I think that's typical. I think it's always the same situation. Oh, well, yeah, it's always the same
Okay.
situation.
All right, then we'll keep it at 6. And if we have to move the time, we'll move the time. Are the folks amending the motion to 6?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Whitman,
Whitman, aye.
Stillings,
Stillings, aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Nichols,
Nichols, aye.
and Resity, aye. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, and Chief, if you can just touch base with Chief Knight
Okay.
and keep us updated.
I will. If I may, Anita just emailed me and said that you are able to open the warrant tonight, and it's up to your discretion how long to leave it open.
All right. Well, it's on the agenda. We can open it tonight. I'll entertain a motion to open it tonight for a period ending. We can, FinCom, Karen, you're here. When would, we obviously want everything, FinCom to have an opportunity to review everything. What do you think the appropriate length of time for FinCom would like to see to have that open versus having time to review?
Well, usually we like to see free cash certified at some point, so we have some sort of a clue. And then usually we like to have it 2 weeks before. So you really don't have a choice. So you got to open it tonight in order for us to get anywhere near close to that.
All right. Let's pull up my calendar. Oh, yeah. All right. If we open it tonight and close it on October 1st, that would give.
I'll go back in time.
I'm sorry?
November 1st?
November 1st. I apologize. That'll give FinCom 12 days to review everything.
Also, just so you know, I gave all the department heads and
Peter?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, the warrant must be posted 2 weeks before a special town meeting. Posted.
Posted. That's correct.
Which brings it back to October 29 or 30, if my math is right.
Yeah, that would bring it back to the 29th.
what I was going to say is all the department heads and all the chairpersons of all the boards and committees already got the heads up and all the paperwork for article submissions. So they've already been made aware this is coming. So
then if we close it on the 26th, would that give us enough time to post it? And then that gives FinCom plenty of time to review.
I think so.
That's tight. Karen, does that work?
That means you guys have to see all the submissions and place them on the warrant by then.
Yeah, we could call a special meeting to get it
Yeah.
posted.
Yeah, we wanted to keep the warrant light in the case where we want it to be a quick meeting to respect health issues around COVID. So I don't anticipate a large warrant. All right, so we'll do that and then make sure that's okay with Anita. And then if we have to make changes, we can make changes. Okay. Does anyone have any questions or concerns?
Yep. Sounds good.
Can you just clarify the dates? Sorry.
We would open the warrant tonight,
Yep.
close it on the 26th. It would
At
be
what
po-
time?
5 p.m. At close of business. It would be posted on the 29th. And the special town meeting will be held on the 12th at 6 p.m.
So you want that all in my motion?
Yeah, let's just amend the motion to include everything.
Yep.
Oh, wait, we already voted on the original motion. So your motion would be to open the warrant tonight, have it close at 5 p.m. on the 26th, post it on the 29th, and that would be it.
Yep.
All right.
Second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Clark and a second by Mr. Nichols. Is there any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Whiteman?
Whiteman, aye.
Stilling?
Stillings, aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Nichols?
Nichols, aye.
River City, aye. Motion carries unanimous. It's a moving target, so thank you everyone, and Chiefs, keep us updated if anything comes up.
Will do.
All right, getting close to the Patriots game here. New business, we have to sign November 3rd, 2020 election warrant. Need a motion to sign.
So moved.
Second.
The motion and a second. Do I have any discussion?
Not gonna need you.
Hearing none, have a roll call vote. Whiteman?
Whiteman, aye.
Stillings?
Stillings, aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Nichols?
Nichols, aye.
River City, aye. Motion carries unanimous. We have a resident inquiry, repairs to the fence surrounding the central tree. It's
All right.
included in your packet.
So actually, you did this for me, right?
Yes.
So this was discussed on Facebook, and I think actually there was a picture that was included. I think, Jeff, I think you had made comments as well on the Facebook posting. I don't know if you had made a comment about possibly talking to the scouts. I don't know if that happened, but I thought it was something that we should definitely address, especially considering we put it on all our signs, all our doors, all over the place, the central tree, and it's kind of an embarrassment right now. So we're drawing attention to something that we're kind of neglecting. So I thought it was something that we should probably address.
Can we reach out to one of the volunteer groups in town? Is it a repair that you think a volunteer group could make?
Would you have a comment?
Oh, Joe, go ahead.
We did some research. It's currently not town property.
It's not.
It's not. There's an easement that was left to access the central tree, but the easement was, as far as we can tell, never turned over to the town. So technically, as far as we can tell, and I've discussed this with the town clerk, it's private property. So you'd have to get a right of entry first to get access to make repairs. And then long term, you should probably have that easement turned over to the town.
Do you know whose property is through the chair?
Mr. Clark, it's split between two property owners on Central Tree Road.
Before we go that route, I mean, would it be prudent to perhaps reach out to property owners, put them in contact with maybe some volunteers that would be willing to make that repair? Or Joe, if you have another suggestion other than the one you just made, going the legal easement route.
Well, I suggested we could, if you mind if I speak directly?
Go ahead.
I think what would be best is if we get a right of entry and we have a generic one we got from town council. We get right of entry to make repairs to that. We can go in there with DPW staff and make a repair.
Okay.
Long term, I would suggest you get an easement. So we can make it look appropriate for now. But we currently don't own it. I hope I answered your question.
Yes.
All right.
So I think, I don't think we need a motion to
No,
ask Joe
you just
to do
have to
that.
direct the administrator to tell me to do it.
So we're not
Fix
gonna
the
direct
tree.
it. We're gonna
Nick,
so
so
you
moved.
Take
do it.
care of that.
We're
I
gonna have
guess,
you do it.
Then, I guess Nick,
So we
will
need two
instruct you to
residential
instruct Joe.
One for each parcel.
So maybe we can work that out. Appreciate you looking into that, Joe.
Now, Jeff, he has his hand up. So I
Jeff,
don't know
go
who's
ahead.
gonna talk.
I did, thank you. Yeah, so I had also, I believe I submitted those snapshots in there showing the current condition of the fence. But a couple of things I wanted to just point out, that it was on the Facebook post, it was actually the landowner herself who was asking for the assistance. So you do have, that level of cooperation going on in there. I did have an email exchange with Annie Goby on that to learn some things, and I learned that that site, although it may not be town-owned land, it is recognized in the state historical registry as a landmark. It is not recognized on the national registry as a landmark in there. And that being said, Annie Goby did relay that she could check around to see if there is any possible funding available, because it is on the state historical registry for such a thing. But I think it's a discussion that should be, like you said, Mr. Chair, coordinated with the landowners, the property owners there, and should also be coordinated with the historical commission, and to decide, if to look for funding, first of all, and if funding is available, maybe have something that's historically relevant for that. But we're also would be entitled, according to Senator Goby, would be entitled to one of those historical landmark signs that you see on the side of the road, because it is on the state registry. So that would be something that we might want to look at. The expense would be on the town or the historical commission, but that might be something we might want to discuss, to have one of those state historical markers on the significance of the tree. So I'd like to see this as an agenda item at the very least, a continuing agenda item moving forward. Thank you.
Joe, quick question for you. Knowing that it's on the Mass Historic Registry, does that change any of the procedures you would need to follow to complete the work? I know that when properties are on it, it makes it a little bit cumbersome to do repairs and things of that nature. I just want to make sure that we don't do something we're not supposed to do if it's on the registry. I wasn't aware it was on the historic registry for the state.
That I wasn't either, but that's confirmed through Senator Goby, who did check.
Right.
Typically, I think you have to send a letter through the state.
Yeah.
Just saying what plans are.
They have to approve it.
And they have to approve that it's still meets historic.
And that was done in 1976 by the town, so.
That. But I would honestly, I would check with the board, the state registry, because there's a certain procedure that triggers that we would have to follow.
Right.
To make sure that we're doing things appropriately. So I guess we'll amend your instruction to Joe to maybe check with the state.
Joe, please check with the state
There we go.
before commencing the case.
Perfect. Thank you, Jeff, for the back.
Sorry, it sounds like the historical commission might be a resource also if Joe, Director Buckley needs assistance or anything, just as a resource.
Okay. All right. So thank you. Next on the agenda, we have a CMRPC delegate and alternative member. There was some issue going back and forth with this. I think that we need to appoint a new representative. That's the planning board that does that.
Mitch, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Tamika, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yes, the planning board nominates the delegate, but the select board nominates the alternate member.
Okay. And would it normally be a member of our board?
Nope, it doesn't have to be. I believe right now it's actually both of them are members of the planning board.
Okay. Who is the current alternate?
I believe Sean Moore is the alternate. Dick Williams is the delegate.
Sean Moore, I see you're on the call. Do you have an interest in continuing your role?
Yes, I do. Thank you. And if I may, I don't speak for the board, but historically it's been Dick, and he's done a great job. if he's still able to, I would recommend him. I'm sure we'll discuss it in our next meeting. I haven't received an agenda yet, but I'm sure it'll be up for discussion.
It's the alternate, Sean. I think Dick is the primary.
Yes, I'm fine with still being the alternate. I would like to continue that.
Okay. So if we're appointing alternate, we can make a motion to appoint anyone. We have an alternate that's currently serving that's interested in doing his role. Is there any preference from the board for discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to appoint John Moore as alternate to CMRPC.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I have a comment. This wasn't posted, this opening wasn't posted to the town website at all. I don't know if we want to consider soliciting any other interest, if there's anyone else that's interested in town as a resident and not specifically a planning board member. I don't feel strongly either way. It's just something for discussion.
I think this falls outside of our regular boards and commissions. If I'm correct on that. It was on our list that was published of openings that we've been looking at the last couple of meetings. So, I mean, if the board feels strongly about it, I'm open to posting it. I'm not sure that it's treated regularly as a board or commission appointment. So I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Folks are okay with your motions?
I am, yep.
Okay. All right, so we'll have a roll call vote. Whiteman.
Whiteman, aye.
Stillings.
Stillings, aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Nichols.
I'm going to recuse myself.
And Ricidi, aye. Motion carries 4 yeas and 1 refusal. Okay. Street sign requests: Wheeler Road, Wachusett Street, and Wachusett Street, and Mushkapog. We have in front of us requests for street signs. Which would be at the intersection of Wheeler and Wachusett, the intersection of Mushkapog and Wachusett, and I think that's it.
To the chair, we got the money to do this.
That would be a question I would defer to Mr. Buckley.
That's what I said through the chair.
Oh, understood.
Mr. Buckley.
Thank you.
Our vendor for providing signs is running a little bit behind, so it's going to be a little long, but I think we can cover it.
But you're okay with these? Yep. I think
I'm sorry, through the chair. These are recognized stops. These aren't like, right?
They should be, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just want to note too, they're both intersecting with Wachusett, which I know has been a topic of frequent discussion for this board in terms of that road, folks speeding and being dangerous. So I think it's a good idea. So I appreciate your input, Joe. Is there any discussion from the board?
It's Leah. I have a question. I know we've had a couple stop sign requests. A couple weeks ago we had one, and then these two. Did any of these roads have stop signs that have gone missing, or were they just never signed with stop signs?
These are never there.
I have Director Buckley shaking his head to indicate that no, there were not existing stop signs with these requests. They're just new requests.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to install.
Second.
A motion from Mr. Clark and a second from Mr. Nichols. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Whiteman.
Whiteman, aye.
Stillings.
Stillings, aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Nichols.
Nichols, aye.
And Ricidi, aye. Motion carries unanimous.
So through the chair, before we move on to signs, I had somebody ask, is it a possibility, Joe, that we could get one of you people to straighten up a hidden driveway sign on Prescott Street?
Sure.
I guess, yeah, it's a hidden driveway. I guess people almost got hit the other day or whatever.
Is there a form before us on that one?
It's just a repair. It's just going on.
It's not a new sign. It's a repair to the one that's already there.
All right, so I think that came in via email. We don't need a motion for that, Joe. I just want to check it out. It just needs to be bent back or uprighted.
Thank you.
Great. All right, last but not least, we should have two appointments. I don't see one on the agenda for Ag Commission.
I'd like to make a motion to reappoint David Dolan, sorry, as a full member of the Agricultural Commission.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Was there any input from AgCom?
Yes, there was. They,
I think the chair had sent a letter to Laura. I'm not sure if it made it to the rest of the board, but I know he had sent something.
he sent something to me because they want somebody on their board. They only have 2 members at this moment in time. More names are gonna be coming soon.
So I'll take it that, we can appoint.
They would appreciate the appointment tonight. They would.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Whitman,
Whitman, aye.
Stillings,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Nichols,
Nichols, aye.
and Resity, aye. Motion carries unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Dolan. I know you're here on the call. Would you like to add anything? I don't know if we're opening Zoom back up.
Oh, it's still open. I just had another screen up.
All right. I know Dave's in the meeting. I don't know if he wants to add anything, but
There he is.
Dave Dolan. All right. Well, congratulations. And we appreciate the survey. We don't have it on the agenda, but we have a historic. When was that added? I'm looking at the wrong.
Yep, Mitch, that should be on there.
It's on the online agenda.
Okay, I'm sorry. The printed version I have doesn't have it included. I apologize. Okay, so we have a historical commission appointment. We received the letter of interest as well as a recommendation from the chair. So I'll entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion?
For discussion, sir.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Jeff Stillings here. I have the pleasure of having Mr. Mark Fauteur with me here, who is the applicant for the Historical Commission seat in there, if they had any questions. Mr. Fauteur is a 50-year resident of Rutland, residing on Irish Lane, retired from Norton Company, and he and his wife, Bonnie, raised 3 children through the Rutland school system. He's a proud grandparent and has a strong interest in the preserving of the historical nature of the town, and especially as it pertains to the prison camps. So I'm proud to introduce him to the board if you had any questions and ask for endorsement. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for your dedication to the town and your service. We have a motion and a second for your appointment. I'll have a roll call vote. Whitman,
Aye.
Stillings,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Nichols,
aye.
and the city aye. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, and thank you, Jeff. The Sportsman's Club looks great tonight, so certainly
Thank you,
appreciate
sir. Thank you very much.
All right. That is it. We have
Mr. Moore had his hand up on the signage.
Mr. Moore, you have your hand up. Make it brief, please.
Yes, thank you. It just a question about signs, more so about speed limit. Is there a petition that a citizen can make on having a speed limit lowered in a community?
I think that's probably a question for you, Chief.
So, hey, Sean, it's Nick. At the annual last year, we actually voted to accept the state law that allows the Board of Selectmen to set speed limits in thickly settled areas at 25 miles per hour. So I'm going to start working with Joe at some point. We're going to start working on different developments and thickly settled areas to start getting moving on those. So yeah, it's possible. We're going to move on it.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, great. That was it. Thank you so much. And Chief done a really good job being town administration. I I would really want to give my thanks out to you as a citizen as well.
Thank you very much, John. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mr. Moore. All right, is there anything else for the good of the welfare, any correspondence, any other business to come before the board? If not, I'll take a motion to,
Mr. Stillings.
you have your hand up, fully noting that the Patriots game has now officially started. Jeff, go ahead.
Thank you. Real brief, I just wanted to offer a in memoriam for a good citizen that the town lost this week, Mr. Greg Trapezzonian, known to us belovedly as Trapper, decorated Vietnam vet, former Rutland police officer, passed this week, and put his family in your prayers, and just a moment to reflect of a good town citizen, and he'll be missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. That was very classy.
Just a quick question, Chief. Do you lower the police flag when you lose?
We are planning on it. Yeah,
Okay.
probably the day before the services.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. All right. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
You
Unless
already
there's
got it.
anything else. We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
We had a second.
We had a second. I'll have a roll call vote. Whiteman.
Whiteman, aye.
Stillings.
Stillings, aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Nichols.
Nichols, aye.
City, aye. Motion carries unanimous.